I have a daughter, normal kid, but since she was small, she used to talk with something or with someone. She used to tell me it was like a light. And, you know, my mother and grandmothers, etc., start blessing her and taking her to the church and thinking that she was crazy. But one night, I heard her like talking. Mm-hmm. I woke up, opened my door, and when I was in the hall, I was going to her room, but something held me back. I don't know what it was, but it held me back. When I saw her room, it had light, like green and red light. And I saw a shadow, very strange, and I saw her sitting down. I tried to open the door because, you know, like a mother, I gotta defend whatever was there. But she was talking friendly. And suddenly when I started saying, don't take her, I don't know why I was saying her, I was just told, don't take her, don't take her. Whatever it was just went. But I saw the light just like go through the window. And suddenly she opened the door and she told me, Mommy, they're not gonna take me nowhere. That's what she told me.
Believe it or not, the mythos exists. From conspiracy theories surrounding the Arecibo Observatory to the mayor of Lajas, who has made the myth a growing tourist attraction.
Hay muchas leyendas, porque por ejemplo ahí hay una laguna, que es la laguna Cartagena, y decían que de la laguna salían cosas.
Chances are if you ask a Puerto Rican about aliens, you're likely to get a story.
This is where a lot of people used to come to see the UFO. You suddenly will start seeing like lots of lights of color in the water, like if it was Christmas or something.
And so that's what we started doing, asking people about their alien stories.
Do we communicate with aliens? No, we don't. Did we send a message out to them, royal them? Yeah, we did.
He told me that the gray ones used to come to his room all the time to play with him when he was young.
Yo tuve la oportunidad de, en mi casa, yo vivo aquí en el pueblo, ver algo con mi familia, un objeto que se movió, o sea, raro.
Aquí mismo, en el área, en el océano, yo conozco compañeros pescadores que han tenido unas experiencias espectaculares con avistamientos de objetos tanto voladores como submarinos no identificados.
Whether or not aliens are real, their stories are real. The mythology and lore exists within the Puerto Rican culture. Something similar that has drawn people to Area 51 for half a century. Strangely enough, the landscape of Puerto Rico's alien hotspot is akin to Roswell, New Mexico. The air is dry and clear, and nearby water sources.
Area 51, a military complex that's hidden behind the people, and they do whatever they do. And you have this, alien complex. Is Area 51 that mythology good for the people around that? I think it is.
Among scholars who have researched people's beliefs in UFOs and extraterrestrial encounters, most have concluded that stories and expressions of events constitute a cultural complex stemming from a lack of self-determination, perhaps an expression of colonialism, that people do not feel empowered, that the mythology of UFOs and aliens expressed in Puerto Rico is actually a manifestation of colonialism on the citizens' common psyche.
People go to Orlando to see a mouse there, right? It's the same here. And this mouse is not real because he talks, he plays, and do whatever. Okay, if they want to come here to see any alien, even if you don't have, we are good with that.
They still will bring their wallet.
Yeah.
Expression of colonialism or not, some voices express the mythology as a potential remedy for the Commonwealth's economic woes.
So if you tell me, we're gonna, make this huge campaign, come to Puerto Rico and visit the aliens, communicate with the aliens through Arecibo telescope, and that's gonna bring more people to Puerto Rico, which will, they will see the telescope, but they will also see the other beauty that we have, then why not, right?
And after spending a day with the scientists who stare at the cosmos for a living, we leave with a new perspective.
Well, it doesn't sound like aliens are real. Just when I was starting to believe in them.
Of course, the real focus of our trip was not to find aliens. The citizens of the Commonwealth continue to struggle with what has become a community in transition. Potential independence from the United States, freeing the constraints of colonial mentality, rebuilding power systems and infrastructures designed to withstand major hurricane forces and climate change.
Most of the infrastructure that was built in the last century, a significant part of it, have already completed its life cycle. That means that we have to think about recycling towns and whole cities.
After Maria, the island was left devastated. But within the devastation lie an interesting opportunity to rebuild Puerto Rico from the ground up. The FGCU team looked at 3 problem areas facing the island that would need to be addressed for the Commonwealth to be successful, all of them revolving around the island's intimate relationship with water. They are island inhabitants surrounded by the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. They are gently kissed by tropical rains, are ravaged by violent hurricanes, yet their minds are attentive to the deep, dormant, decaying waters of stagnation. The Puerto Rican people are transitionary elements. They are water elements.
The face of Puerto Rico in that sense is shaped by water. And water will keep flowing throughout time.
The papaya tree should yield around 150 pounds of papaya per season. We can see that we're missing part of the flowers here and here due to the stress created by the drought. We don't get a solution for this, we'll probably have to go to do something else. There's no future in agriculture without a fix of the problem.
Puerto Rico, despite being a tropical island in the Caribbean, is enduring drought, much stemming from poor urban planning and unbridled construction growth.
We have no natural lakes. Puerto Rico, all the lakes that you see here in Puerto Rico are man-made. Eventually you'll get to a dam that's man-made, so we don't have lakes. So our water reservoirs are shrinking because of sediment, right? You get more stuff.
Probably most of that sediment may contain contaminants. You will need to examine the nature of that sediment, and the question is, if you're going to remove it, where are you going to remove it? If you pour the sediment over the dam, there is another dam that is open up downslope that is a major water supply dam that supplies water to San Juan. So you cannot just take it from that dam and put it down and let the water flush it.
Aside from literal droughts, Puerto Rico is suffering a drought in its lifeblood.
There have been so many people leaving Puerto Rico, not just after Maria, for the years before the Maria. Youth people that will not be here working in the future. That's my main concern.
At least 200,000 people from Puerto Rico have moved here since the storm. Some estimate the number is double that.
The mass exodus seen recently is the worst since almost 500,000 people left in the 1950s.
I need to get out of here. Why? Because we feel desperate. It's not just me.
Tonight in Puerto Rico, the lines are long and some tempers are short.
There's no running water. The only way out for the elderly residents, these stairs.
So-called reception centers for Puerto Rican evacuees in Orlando and Miami, all to help them resettle.
This is the scene in Puerto Rico's main international airport.
Thousands of businesses have closed, hollowing out entire neighborhoods and leaving the government with far less tax money to pay its bills.
And what makes it even worse is highly educated people are leaving for better opportunities elsewhere.
Now, if nothing is done and we keep down the same road, Puerto Rico will be bankrupt again. There will be a second bankruptcy, and in 30 years' time, there will be 1 million people here in Puerto Rico, and only the rich and the poor, the middle class, won't be able to live here. It will be too expensive. Only very rich people that can pay, and very poor people to give them services. But it will be a non-place.
The island is aging really fast, and we need that people to counterbalance that aging in population. So if we don't have youth people here in Puerto Rico that will work in the next few years, the recovery will be, I would say, impossible for Puerto Rico, or it's going to be really take a lot longer.
Fleeing the island, many Puerto Ricans arrive on the United States mainland, building new lives, building economic wealth and cultural capital through education.
Fertility rate was 1.1, one of the lowest in the world, and I think it's going to be below 1 in the next few years.
The first step to recovery, getting more people to the island. One possible solution is distilling the island's rich and mysterious history of myths to promote tourism, something the town of Louisa is already doing. Distilling is a process of making spirits, mixing fire elements with water elements. The result is a liquid fire known commonly as alcohol, known to melt inhibitions, inflame passions, and burn reputations. Alcohol allows the imagination to take flight and unleashes mythical dreams. Distilling is a process resulting in something new, pure, fresh, and different.
Pues hay un mito de que aquí vivía una ermitaña y que pues cada vez que un turista se acercaba, pues se formaba como un tipo de huracán, ¿verdad? Y se supo que ya ella no estaba viva porque unos turistas pudieron entrar, porque ya pues esas formaciones como un huracán pues no se veía. Esa es una de las leyendas dentro de la cueva. Pero aquí, fuera de las leyendas, hay realidades.
Yeah, you heard that, the Arecibo hosted aliens, and Arecibo had nukes underneath the dish. Arecibo, the recent one is that Arecibo controls the weather and all that. So it's you hear a lot of myth.
Close people to me have also seen many things, from UFO, from flying objects to the actual extraterrestrials and everything.
And it had windows right around
center,
and at the bottom there was a whole bunch of lights, different color lights.
There used to be a radio show here where people used to call and tell their stories, which are really incredible.
De oeste a oeste moverse una lucecita. Si usted observa una lucecita como una estrellita redondita que se mueve lentamente de un lado a otro y después se pierde, pues ahí no vaya a decir seguida que es una nave extraterrestre. Lo que yo le sugiero es que haga lo siguiente: fíjese en ese momento en su reloj.
In metaphorical terms, distilling the imagination of a community will result in a group of people sharing impressions and contradictory feelings around an unusual image or symbol, a myth.
Even one time he told me that they gave her instructions on how to get to this pyramid, this really strange pyramid that is somewhere hidden in El Yunque.
But most of them, like my dad, when he started talking about it, look, I was like younger, I start talking. Yeah. And suddenly in 3 days, they came up and picked my dad.
They took your dad?
Mm-hmm.
3 a.m, they all woke up and they got in the cars and they went to El Yunque, and supposedly they found the place. And that's off limits now.
And then suddenly my dad came back and another man. He once said that the chip he had in the neck was hurting him.
Your dad had a chip?
That's what he said, you know.
There is a mythology that saturates the island of Puerto Rico. Stories told of alien encounters and UFO sightings echo upon voices.
Yo no creo que estemos solos. O sea, sería egoísta e ilógico pensar que nosotros somos los únicos.
In the Lajas region, to the south, people over there see mother chips.
Han tenido esa experiencia y en un pasado muchos se mudaron porque cogieron miedo.
The problem we have, it's a theme that hardly nobody wants to speak it, and when we speak it, they think we're crazy.
Distilling the essences of ideas into a form that benefits the community's uniqueness, expands the finances of citizens, and comforts the spirit of the individual.
El turismo debe ser una de las áreas que debe explotarse, especialmente aquí en Puerto Rico. Y especialmente el turismo que llaman el turismo alternativo.
We have the mountain culture, which is super rich, and that involves all kinds of things. UFOs and all kinds of natural things to do in the mountains, of natural activities, the rivers, the caves, the forests. There's so many things here.
Es el turismo donde se ofrece lo que es auténtico, lo que es realmente Puerto Rico. Y si empezamos a vender lo que realmente somos, yo te aseguro que se va a incrementar la movida del turismo en Puerto Rico y lógicamente se va a fortalecer nuevamente nuestra economía.
Louisa's mayor is also looking at traditional avenues. Her administration has funded full-time tour guides to escort visitors through the island and show off its best attractions. She has dubbed the initiative Louisa Reborn.
La estrategia de nuestra alcaldesa y del municipio de Loíza para el renacimiento económico, ella se empara mucho en lo que es la tradición, la cultura y más que todo desarrollar el turismo. Si nosotros no lo hacemos, ¿quién lo va a hacer por nosotros? Nosotros tenemos que empezar por nuestra casa. Así que somos nosotros, si no lo hacíamos nadie lo iba más a hacer. Así que nosotros teníamos que empoderarnos, así que ese orgullo ya uno lo tiene como quien dice incrustado en sus raíces.
A toda mi gente de Puerto Rico, a la familia Fontanet, allá en Cupeato y Lo Mejía en Vega Baja, que gocen.
The positive, if you build it, they will come mentality has set Louisa apart from other municipalities, even going as far as branding the diaspora as simply evangelists who have moved to the mainland.
La función de los puertorriqueños y de la diáspora es justamente ayudar, es traer esos recursos que alguna vez nos faltaron, traerlos a nuestro pueblo y nosotros seguir, ¿verdad? Con nuestra vida, ellos nos ayudaron e incluso pudieron traer más personas que se interesaran en nuestro país y esas personas lo que hacen es ayudar.
Más rápido.
Muy bien. No bailaste.
Muy más rápido.
No bailaste.
Strengthening the economy through tourism would lead to better funding to things like infrastructure, increasing the quality of life and slowly or completely reversing the diaspora. Still, the people's faith in the government is at an all-time low.
An explosive political and corruption scandal is rocking the island of Puerto Rico.
Thousands of protesters in the streets of San Juan demanding the resignation of their governor, Ricardo Rosselló.
Profane, sexist, and homophobic messages between him and members of his own staff. The secret chat targeted politicians, journalists, even celebrities, all critical of his handling of Hurricane Maria's funding.
It's now clear they do not plan to stop protesting until the governor resigns.
The governor's former chief financial officer says, "Don't we have a cadaver to feed the crows?" That was in the aftermath of the hurricane.
I apologize for it.
5 months later, new governor, new scandal.
Hundreds protested despite the heavy rain at the governor's mansion. Outrage after discovering a warehouse of unused aid.
Then applause raining down from an infuriated crowd. It's been sitting there for nearly a year outside the complex. A desperate crowd cannot understand how all this help could be right in their backyard the whole time.
It's like, how can this be happening?
Some of the aid has allegedly been sitting there since Hurricane Maria struck in 2017. Fire and Emergency Services Director said it was insane to imply that aid was mishandled.
Right now in Puerto Rico, tomorrow look worse than today. And that is terrible, because even in the poorest country of the world, if you have faith that tomorrow you will be in better shape than today, you have hope, you have project, you have a way of believing in your future.
There's a big federal government investigation going on in all the government, and everything's coming out all of a sudden, one after the other, one thing after the other. So pretty much we're in a position that the government pretty much collapsed.
We have to give people hope that it's going to get better. We have to clean the government from corruption, for example.
Most Puerto Ricans are feeling that this is going down slope, that we are in a feedback process that is practically irreversible. We have not go to the bottom of it yet, and the picture doesn't look clear.
We have nothing left to lose, so we're just gonna take to the streets and we're gonna organize, and then, we'll see what happens. Like, they've taken everything from us, so what else we have to lose? Nothing.
Puerto Rico is a mess, but the people of Puerto Rico are not a mess.
Morass that we're in right now, which is very painful to watch, and certainly for me and many sons and daughters of immigrants in this country, very painful to feel.
If Puerto Rico wanted to change anything in our political environment, anything meaningful in our political environment, is it up to Puerto Rico? Is it?
There are 8 million Puerto Ricans. 4 million live outside of the island, mostly in the United States mainland. The hope lies in the voices in the U.S., the only ones who have any power in the current system.
If a diaspora lives over there and they have some kind of political muscle to move around laws or situations that would benefit Puerto Rico. So get out and vote, sure. Write letters to your congressman, sure. We can't. We don't have no Congress. We have no say in Congress. Although the Congress has plenary power of Puerto Rico, which means they can do whatever they want with Puerto Rico with a signature. We have no say in the Congress. Oh, we have someone who can go there and warm up the mic for everyone else, but that's it.
Freshwater springs. The flows of clear running water from one source to another adds richness and value to all of life.
They have a lot of responsibility and a lot of power over there if they get together. And that's the key point. They have to work in unison.
All must unite in support of the solidarity movement. Should that fail, nothing changes, continuing the steady erosion of the Commonwealth's most valuable resource, people.
Actually, so the flow of water, the flow of life, and all the streams that come from the top of the mountains and get together and integrate and flow down through meandering patterns to the lowlands and then debouches into the sea, all that system.
La única forma que podemos desarrollar y levantar la economía de este pueblo es uniéndonos nuevamente y uniendo fuerzas, sea de allá, sea de acá, unir todas las fuerzas que sean necesarias para volver a colocar a Puerto Rico en el sitial que merece y que debe estar.
We have great people there in the universities, great people there in private companies like Google, we have people there in all those places, NASA, so we have great minds outside that they can help to solve maybe some of the issues in Puerto Rico. That, I think, will be the main thing that the people outside of Puerto Rico they can do for us right now.
The voice projects vision. The lips and teeth produce different spectacles. The verbal imagination reigns over the visual imagination. The true domain of both is the spoken story, the ripe word uttered with a flowing sentence. Speak, in spite of the pain and the memories, let your round word roll over the stones.